unrivaled person. Really? Game, you're not saying what I think you're saying, are you? It's like, hey, no more love rivals. It's just you two. Congratulations. It's too soon. Naran, I'm coming in. There was no reply, only the sound of knocking on the door echoed. I withdrew my hand that knocked on the door, paused, and then made up my mind and entered the room. Naran. Naran, though awake, was leaning against the back of his bed, looking out in a daze. He's been spending all his time like this, ever since the day after returning from battle. You're still not eating. Oh no, now they've switched spots because she wasn't eating and now he's not eating. Make him a smoothie. There was an untouched breakfast on the tray next to the bed. In this condition, his wounds that should heal won't. I reached out for him in concern, but he turned his face away as if to avoid me. Man, I can only imagine the guilt Naran is feeling, not only because Suren sacrificed himself for Naran, but also because he's gonna feel like Suren knew I was in love with his wife, and that's why he sacrificed his life for me. I shouldn't have fallen in love with his wife, and then Suren would have left, and it would have been fine. Everyone could have been happy. Ah! Oh, I don't envy Naran at all. Poor guy. His brown eyes, which used to reflect his ever-changing emotions, are now no warmer than glass balls. The way he was sitting on his bed with a vacant look was reminiscent of a broken doll. If he doesn't eat, he really is going to die. I felt that I would only traumatize him if I touched him, so I have left the food for Naran for the past couple of days. But I think the time to wait has passed. Now I just have to force him to eat. I mean, he didn't force you to eat when you were struggling. Yeah, in this situation, I think we gotta go back to Suren. Suren, what would you say? How would you encourage him? I ask in my heart and think of that confident smile. However, the illusion remained an illusion, as it disappeared the moment I opened my eyes. To be honest, I wanted to lie down too. My best friend has disappeared, and my husband, who was also my friend, is lost forever. There's no way I could remain calm. Even so, there was someone who was more hurt in front of me, so I decided that I couldn't collapse. Yes, I have to be firm. For Suren, and for the other women. When I changed my mind about what to do, I suddenly remembered the other night. When I'd lost my appetite, Suren... Oh no, are we doing the mouth-to-mouth? Oh no! We're literally taking a... This is not what I meant by, like, Suren, what would you do? No! We're the instigators this time. Alright. I writhe in shame only in my heart. Then I suppressed the conflict in my chest and picked up the bowl on the tray. I put the cold soup in my mouth and firmly sandwiched Naran's cheeks with both hands. I can't believe this. Alright, which writer has this kink and it's just like, I'm gonna find a way for liquids to exchange mouth to mouth every route. At this point, I'm gonna be disappointed if it doesn't happen every single route. You know, on the bright side, if there's a bright side, this game might actually heal my trauma when it comes to exchanging liquids mouth to mouth. Because I'll just become desensitized by the end, like, for the 9th time, we're exchanging liquids mouth to mouth. You know, it's fine now. I don't even have a problem with it anymore. Oh, what a time to be alive. Even if I pour everything in, I won't be relieved until Naran swallows it down. I keep our lips pressed together so that he can't spit it out. As I patiently closed my lips, Naran's larynx moved. I was relieved to see that he had swallowed it, and my shoulders relaxed. That smile, though. When I pulled my face away slightly, Naran was looking up at me with feelings resembling emotions on his face for the first time in a long time.
Mrs.?
If you won't eat it, then I'll make you eat it like this. I grinned, just like Suren once did. There's something so messed up about that, though. It's just like... I have become my husband with my boyfriend.
That's...
What will you do?
I'll eat.
That's good. I smile sincerely, happy to finally have a conversation. Oh, is that what you call that? Having a conversation. As I moved away, Naran began to eat in an awkward manner. I sat on the edge of the bed and watched him finish.
Mrs., don't you hate me?
What? As I was about to put the empty bowl away, I heard his voice that was weaker than a soliloquy. When I tilted my head and asked back, Naran muttered with his head down.
Bro is dead. Because of me.
No one thinks that it's your fault.
It is my fault! If I hadn't been there, bro...
You were wounded so much because you fought while shielding Suren. If you hadn't been there, Suren might have died a lot earlier.
Good point.
And... Suren wanted you to live. You should be proud that you came back and not blame yourself. That's what I think. As Naran closed his mouth again, there was a knock on the door. Everyone seemed to be concerned about Naran's feelings and did not want to approach him, so I replied, a little surprised at the visit. Yes.
Excuse me.
The voice came from the servant who had served Suren the longest. At first I was uncomfortable with his emotionless appearance, but now I am even attached to his ruggedness. Perhaps he was the next most trusted one after Naran. What's wrong? When I responded reassuringly, the voice on the other side of the door stiffened slightly.
Lord Toya is here, saying he needs to speak with Naran and Madam. What will you do?
Toya? This isn't my room, so I hesitate to give out permission freely. All these rooms belong to you, girl. You are you are the widow of the military commander, so I think all of this belongs to you now. I hesitated and looked to the side, and the head wrapped in black hair bobbed slightly. I took it to mean permission and answered in his place. Show him in.
Understood.
Shortly after the servant's presence disappeared, I heard the sound of 2 footsteps. A few moments after they stopped in front of the room, a dignified voice shook the air through the door.
Can I come in? Please.
Unable to remain in bed for a visit from the king, Naran pushed through the pain in his body and stood up. Entering the room, Toya held him back with a hand movement.
I wasn't sure if I should talk at a time like this.
As he declared, he began to speak with an air of hesitation, which was rare for Toya, who was usually imposing.
The other day, the military council confirmed Suren's death in battle, and a decision has been made about Madam's future.
Oh boy, hit me with it. Okay, how did they confirm his death? Was there a body? Was there a body part? Tell me, Toya. Did they collect blood samples? I must know. The fact that he refers to me as Madam shows his discretion and respect for Suren. And in doing so, I somehow understood what he wanted to say.
Suren had no children, which means that he cannot be granted nobility. In this event, according to the laws of our country, you will have to choose a new husband in 3 months after the mourning period.
Okay, so they give you a 3-month mourning period. Cool. I mean, okay, at least they give you some time. It's not immediate. It's amazing they actually thought that far ahead. Like, okay, if the husband dies without children, then the wife has 3 months before she has to choose a new husband. Okay. Is that so?
You're not surprised.
Too late for that now. It's too late. I mean, yeah, top one. I lost that kind of emotion when I became Suren's wife. So, what happens if I don't choose?
In that case, I will protect you. I've come here today to make an offer to you.
Wait a minute! Does that mean that Lord Toya would become her husband?
I missed the opportunity to react as Naran's surprised voice beside me rang out first. He's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna lose her again? Sheesh. I haven't seen Naran show this much emotion since the day he came back from the war.
Yeah. I wasn't planning on marrying anyone, but Suren had asked this of me before he died.
Oh. He left his wife and his will to you? Oh, these love squares we get into. We expanded. We went from the triangle to the square. Except Toya's like, well, I like that he's at least saying, okay, he's not taking him up on it right away. He's letting Naala choose still, but he's like, hey, just so you know, if you don't want to choose, this is the arrangement we had, and I would protect you as my wife. Is that how we get onto your route? I've got so many questions. Okay, gonna continue.
And there's one more thing he asked of me.
Toya turned to Naran, who was staring at him, and took a piece of paper from his pocket.
Naran, this is the transfer certificate I received from Suren.
Transfer?
Naran, who received it with obvious confusion, unfolded it and blinked even more. His fingertips holding the paper turned white and trembled slightly. Just what is... I knew I shouldn't, but I was concerned about how upset Naran was, so I stole a sideways glance at him. And even I choked up with surprise when I grasped the content. This is... In the center of a piece of paper labeled Certificate of Transfer, it read, "After my death, I give all my property to Naran." At the end, it even has the seal of the military commander carefully stamped on it. So he left everything except his wife to Naran, and then left his wife to Toya. Interesting. I guess it does make sense that Suren left Naala to Toya, because Toya for sure is nobility. So he would know that Toya would take care of her. She wouldn't then be married to anybody else, no matter what happened afterwards. Whereas Naran does not have that stability. He's still a commoner. Okay. Alright. But he left everything else to him. All means the mansion, household assets, and money. This is a will meant to pass on his belongings to Naran.
I can't accept this!
Why not?
Why? How could I? I don't deserve this. And besides, this should go to the missus before it goes to me.
Think about it carefully, Naran. Even if she were to receive it, what would happen to those assets? Right. It would go to her new husband. In other words, me. In other words, his land, assets, everything would be confiscated by the state. Are you okay with that? I want to honor his most important wish.
Most important wish?
Suren loved our country deeply, but he cared about you even more. Therefore, refusing this will now would be like trampling on his heart.
I'm just an orphan. I'm not fit to be the master of this mansion.
Everyone is born alone, and we die alone. Rather than our beginnings, don't you think it's what we do in life that matters most? Assets are a part of our mission that we take on ourselves. We live to be worthy of them. I think both you and I wanted to be by his side because we were fascinated by that process.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
His Majesty, don't you hate me?
If I hate something about you, it is your weakness that you run away from reality by blaming yourself. Human life is fragile, Naran. While regretting the past, don't lose sight of the precious things in front of you now.
After saying this, Toya flipped the hem of his long robe, like a diva. His wide back disappears behind the door, and silence falls over the room. He really just did like a mic drop moment and left. Sheesh. Naran.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Could I be left alone?
Once he turned his back to me completely, I could no longer speak to him. I quietly get up and leave the room with the tray in my hand. He's got some meditating to do. Human life is fragile, huh? It really is true. The fire of life, including my own, goes out surprisingly easily. That is why we try to shine while it is still burning. I too need to get back on my feet. I can't run away from what's before me now. Even if it is sad or painful, as long as we continue to live, we can only move forward. I clutched the tray tightly and stared at the white moon. It was around the time when you start to hear the sounds of insects singing the seasons. After cleaning up dinner, I was walking down the corridor to see what Naran was doing. The moonlight, brighter than usual, stops me in my tracks and makes me look up at the azure sky. You asked your friend to do something terrible. They say that the souls of the dead go to the moon. If that's true, then my current complaint could reach Suren. I can't believe you prepared things for both Naran and I. You always decide things on your own like that. You are a real pain in the ass. I tried to sulk. An ray of light streamed across the azure heavens. I cowered my shoulders as he seemed to laugh at me, as if saying, "Pull yourself together." Of course, I'll do what I can to move forward. But can I just rest a little bit more? Both Naran and I need some time to rest our minds. I smile to the sky and start walking again. Even if only my imagination, I felt the brightness increase as I approached Naran's room. I wonder if Naran is still awake. Thinking about if he were asleep, I quietly peeked inside of the room. At that moment, my heart jumped. In the brilliant light, Naran stood with his sword in one hand. Well, hopefully everything's chill in here. His body should still be sore, but he is standing up so straight that he doesn't look it in the slightest. His eyes looking up at the round moon are vacant, as if all emotions have been drained out of them. Naran. An ominous feeling of foreboding welled up in me, but I couldn't move, as if my toes were stitched together. I was overwhelmed, or should I say I felt that all the scenes coming through my eyes told of the depths of his grief. As I watch with bated breath, the tip of the sword sways and takes aim at Naran's chest. Naran. A moment later, as I was about to leap forward, the wind suddenly blew in from the window. I thought it was a calm moonlit night with no wind, so I squinted as this seemed even more bizarre. Then, after the wind passed, I opened my eyes and my chest shook in astonishment. Suren's memento, his wrap cloth, covered Naran's shoulders and flowed in the wind. Shut up. It's a sign from above! It was as if he was condemning Naran for choosing death.
Bro.
The dry sound of a blade rolling on the floor. Naran, on his knees, put his hands on the floor and gradually collapsed. He writhes and sprawls on the floor in agony, from the pain not in his body, but in his heart.
Bro! 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 Bro!
Listening to Naran scream, I realized that I was also crying. Come to think of it, neither of us had properly cried. This night, we poured out all the emotions that had been stagnant in the depths of our hearts. Oh, good grief. This game has so much heart pain. I'm getting heart pain from playing it. Oh. Naran, I'm coming in.
Good morning, Mrs.
When was the last time that he responded to my morning greeting? I felt a little bit of life had returned to his brown eyes that looked at me, if not yet as before. I knelt by the bed and checked his complexion. He does look a little better today. Looks like you're in good shape today.
Yeah. I've come to a conclusion.
I see. I dare not ask what his conclusion is and proceed to prepare breakfast. Then Naran, who had not said anything about it before, looked apologetic.
I'm sorry. As a brother-in-law, I'm not worthy of being cared for, Mrs.
The injured should just shut up and be cared for. Yes. Here's your porridge. What? You want me to feed you by mouth again?
No! I was really sorry.
Yeah. I got it, so eat up.
It's terrible to poke fun at the wounded.
I was happy that Naran laughed at me, even though it was a bitter smile. We can heal each other's wounds, little by little in this way. As I thought so and smiled, there was a knock on the door, which almost seemed to be far away as both of us looked towards it.
Madam, the tailor has brought your order.
I haven't asked for anything. You, Naran?
I have no memory.
An item that no one at the mansion asked for. From the tailor. What did we see at the market back then? I remember we saw, like, some cloth that was similar to Suren's. There's no mistakes when it comes to this sort of thing. I don't know why my mind immediately went to Shalu, but... Okay. Got an up with Naran for that. Could it be the one I saw at the market back then? I mean, Naran didn't deny it. He's just like, I have no memory of this. I put my hand on my chin and thought for a moment. Then one possibility occurred to me and I looked up with a start. I had a strange sense of certainty in me. Please, show him in.
Understood.
Soon after, the tailor appeared, guided by the servant. He carefully lowers the subdued colored wooden box to the floor and opens the lid.
It's a wrap cloth, made to resemble tropical textiles.
A bright crimson woven from raw silk that looked to be of good quality. Each and every thread seemed to shine in the sunlight.
We received an order from Lord Suren quite some time ago, and he paid for it.
The tailor man stops talking awkwardly. Well, given things, that can't be helped. Everyone in the town already knows that the man who made the order, Suren, has gone to the moon.
How can this be new?
He said, "What you're making now will be passed on to my disciple when he becomes full-fledged.
Oh, stop. Really?
Passed on. He said that before going off to war?
Yes, it was a few days before the battle.
Naran? I'm sorry, but I wonder if I could have this as a memento.
Huh?
It seems that you already have a memento. I took the wrap cloth that was hanging from the wall and put it in Naran's hand. When the wind blew through, it danced softly and the nostalgic smell smoldered my nose. Naran, he'd recognized you a long time ago. Naran cried, his shoulders shaking as he choked back sobs. I wrapped his body up in the red cloth and slowly stroked his back.
I knew I'd never be able to match Bro. Even to the very end, he continues to show the difference between us. It's unbearable.
Even as he said this, Naran was smiling happily as tears streamed down his face.